we are expecting out of this Spring Boot? Anyone, any idea? What was the previous technologies that we were using for developing these kind of applications? If you have any idea, you can tell me. Okay, so let me start. What is Spring Boot? Okay, so we'll go one by one. So as I told you, today we will be going for only the introduction of the Spring Boot. So let me go for a new page. Okay, so introduction. So some notes, which is very important for this introduction to Spring Boot. Okay, so the basic idea of Spring Boot is to. So what is the basic idea of the Spring Boot here? So Spring Boot is a project that is built on the Spring framework. Okay. So what it provides? It provides an easier way, a faster way to set up, configure the web-based application. So what do I mean by web-based applications here? So the web-based applications I told you in servlets and JSP, right? So they are nothing but which will work on client-server architecture. So which will work on client-server architecture where we will put up a request and where we will have a response. Okay. So where we will put up a request and where we will have a response. So what exactly we are trying to uh, talk about this web application. So web application, we are trying to have the, so when we are trying to have the things such as client server communication. So client server communication in the sense, so client server communication in the sense, so what we are talking about? We are talking about the request being made and getting back the response. So request being made and getting back the response. Okay, so that's where you look at. So that's where you look at the client server. So client server communication. So client server communication. So when I am talking about this client server communication, always remember that. So always remember that we have to go for. So we have to go for the application. So we have to go for the application. So which will take up these things. Now we are saying web applications like servlets, JSP. Already we tested them, right? So we know them. So we have seen them. So we have understood them also. Okay, so we have understood them also. You can go. Okay, so you can go for these applications. So wherein you have servlets and JSP, those are the web before Spring. So the applications used to be developed on by using servlets, Java. So there were struts. Okay, so there were struts also. So we were using struts. Okay, so we were using Spring also. Okay, so these were the frameworks. Okay, and these were the technologies and these were the frameworks which will help us in developing the web-based application. But after Spring Boot, so we had a lot of advantages so that we can take up from this Spring Boot. Okay, that's where you have to go for the Spring Boot. So what is the main advantage? How we can move forward? We will see. Okay, so it is a Spring module. So what it is developed on? It is developed on the various. So it is developed on. So now you can see it is a Spring module that will provide. So it is a Spring module. What it provides here? So it will provide. So it is a Spring module that provides the RAD. RAD stands for Rapid Application Development. So it is used to create standalone. So standalone in the sense, so you can develop it on a single system also. So in that way you can say standalone. So and you can also say standalone because it does not require any kind of network or anything. Okay, so that you can say. So that is why we are saying, so the Spring Boot is it's an addition of Spring Framework plus the servers. You have Tomcat, Jetty, WebLogic, so many things. Okay, and you have XML configuration, or so this is annotation. So this is configuration annotation that is being used, and all this combinedly will make up the Spring Boot you are looking at. So that's how you are looking at the Spring Boot. So basic idea of Spring Boot is it's a combination of Spring Framework with servers with the given configurations. All these are internally will be taken by the application. Okay, by application you don't have to work on it each and every time. So you just set up the configuration. That's it. Okay, you just set up the configuration. So in simple words, you can say that so Spring Boot is a framework. So Spring Boot is a framework, so which will combine the features of Spring Framework, embedded HTTP, XML bean configuration, etc., etc. Okay, so in that way we are going to deal with it. Okay, so that's how we are taking up the Spring Framework. Okay, so it's a combination of, so I told you just now. Okay, it's a combination of Spring Framework and embedded server. So there is no requirement for XML configuration. So generally, no requirement in the sense. So no requirement in the sense. So we are going for auto configurations. Okay, auto configurations. Okay, so that's what we are trying to say, and we can use Spring STS. So or you can use Spring Initializer. Okay, to create the application. We will look at that. Okay, and you can also use the simple IDE, Eclipse IDE also to develop the applications. Anyhow, we will be trying to develop the applications in our coming session. So here I am going for, so in short, Spring Boot is a combination of so framework plus embedded servers. Okay, so we can use Spring STS IDE or Spring Initializer to develop the Spring Boot Java application. So Spring Boot Java application. So here, why we should use Spring Boot framework? So we should use Spring Boot framework because of various reasons. So what are those reasons? The reasons are going to be, okay. So why we should use? So these are the reasons. So which will define us why we should use. Okay, so we should use the Spring framework because the dependency injection approach is used in the Spring Boot. So what do you mean by dependency injection? If you remember when we were doing Hibernate, so what we were doing, we were trying to put the dependencies in the pom.xml file, right? So in the pom.xml file, okay, so we used to give the dependencies in the, so we used to give the dependencies in the, okay, so we used to provide the dependencies in the pom.xml. So when we are talking about the dependency injection, so dependency injection in the sense, so you generally in a Spring Boot, what happens is, so you don't have to explicitly give the dependencies. So sometimes what happens is automatically they will be taken into consideration. Okay, so sometimes you might have to, of course. So sometimes you might have to, and sometimes there is no need also. So directly automatically it will be taken into the picture. So that is why we say that. So we are not having any issues with the dependencies. Okay, so that is why dependency injection approach is used in the, okay, and it contains, so what is the second point here? It will contain database transaction management capabilities. If you remember, if you have learned database in your academics or in your curriculum or anywhere, so there are some properties of transaction. Okay, so the properties are acids properties, where A is atomicity. So A is atomicity, C for consistency, I for isolation, D for durability, so S for some storage something. Okay. So these are serialization, I guess. Okay, so these are the transaction capabilities. So the Spring Boot will follow all these things. So Spring Boot will follow all these things. So that is why we are saying better and powerful database transaction capabilities. Okay, and then so it integrates. Okay, so integrates other Java platforms like JPA, Hibernate, ORM, Struts, etc., etc. So it will integrate. So what it will integrate? So it will integrate the things. Okay, so it will integrate the things now uh, with the help of, so it will integrate the things with the help of other frameworks also. So what is the other framework that we have? We have JPA, Hibernate, okay, so ORM, Stats, etc. So that is how we are dealing with. So we are dealing with the things. Okay, so we are dealing with the things. So now, whenever we are talking about integration, so whenever we are talking about integration, so here we can say that this is one of the best sources of integration. This is one of the best sources of integration. So which one? So the the Hibernate, sorry, the Spring Boot. Okay. So with the help of the Spring Boot, you can go for, so you can go for the better. Okay, once again. So you can go for the better integration. So what is the better integration tool? Spring Boot, of course. This Spring Boot approach is the better integration tool for that matter. Okay. So that's where you are looking at. Okay. So you are looking at the Spring Boot. Okay. And final and very important point, final point is here, what we are saying that it reduces the cost and development time of the application. So what it reduces? It reduces the cost and development time of the application. So application time, so application running time, development time obviously will be cut off by the help of this Spring Boot. Okay, so that's how we develop or we look into the Spring Boot framework. Why we should use? Okay, the Spring Boot framework. Why we should use? Okay, okay. So that is the way that we are going for the things. Okay, right. So now, okay. So let us go for. So along the Spring Boot, many other Spring City projects help us to do all these things. So what are they? So we have Spring Data, so Spring Batch, Spring Security, Spring Social, Spring Integration. So these are also along with Spring Boot, they are also used. Okay, so they are also used. I told you right. So today we will be giving a small introduction to Spring Boot. So wherein it will give you every idea. So every idea, what are the things that are there. Okay, so what are the things that are there? It will give you every idea for that. Okay, so in that way, you are looking at this. Okay, then coming to the advantages of Spring Boot. So, what are the advantages of Spring Boot? Okay, so what are the things that it can do, and what are the advantages of this? Okay, now if you go for, so if you read one point at a time, it creates, what is the advantage? First advantage, standalone Spring application that can be started using Java jar. So it is like now, for example, if you go into the Eclipse, if you go into the Eclipse, so what you generally do, so you generally create the jar files. Okay, so you can create the jar files and you can work with them and you can deploy them also, right? So same thing is with the, so same thing is with the, so same thing is with the Spring Boot. So it creates a standalone application. Okay, so it creates a standalone application, so which are going to work with just a click, I should say, just a click or just a small deployment, I can say. Okay, so it is embedded on various servers. Okay, so various servers like Tomcat and everything. So generally in olden days when we were developing the application, we used to deploy the var files. Okay, So we used to deploy the var files. Okay, so Windows archive file something we used to have. So at that time we used to deploy these var files into the runtime. But now there is no requirement of including or deploying the var files. Okay, so we can just go for the deployment. We can just go for the deployment by using simple application. Okay, so simple application. We look at this particular Spring Boot. Okay, and so as you have seen in Hibernate and all, where we can have this POM settings. Okay, so POM.xml settings you can go for. So wherein you will have the you will set up the Maven configuration. Okay, so it provides production-ready features such as metrics, health checks, externalized functions, configurations, so and all those things. Okay, so all these are common points. It offers a CLI, so command line integration tool also it will provide. So for testing the Spring Boot application, so it will give you a number of plugins. Okay, and one more important point is it also minimize writing boilerplate codes. So boilerplate codes in the sense, now for example, I want to have some statement. So in that statement, I want to print 100 times. So if I want to print a statement 100 times, okay, so I'm not talking about loop or anything. So this statement, so statement one, so this statement has to be printed in various applications. Okay, so this has to be printed in various applications. So then what I need to do is I need to write this in each and every application. So this is called boilerplate. Okay, so boilerplate code. So boilerplate code means so you have to write the same kind of code in various places. Okay, so in various places, but we can avoid using them by having some kind of settings. I'll tell you what kind of settings we can make for that by having or by using some kind of settings. What exactly it will be helping us? So this whole Spring Boot application, the main motive behind using this is it will use or it will increase the productivity and it reduces the development time. So it increases the productivity and obviously it will increase the production time. Okay, so it reduces the development time and it increases the productivity, of course. Okay, so means you can do lot of things in very less time, very less time, and it also helps in deploying better and all those kind of stuff. So that is the advantage of this particular Spring Boot. Okay, and we will talk about the limitations. Okay, so what is a limitation? So limitation, so for everything there would be some limitation, right? So for everything there would be some limitation. So what is the limitation over here? So you can observe the limitation. Spring Boot can use dependencies that are not going to be used in the application. So what exactly happens over here? So we are not going to be used in the application. These dependencies increase the size of the application. So increases the size of the application. Okay, so Spring Boot can use the dependencies that are not going to be used in the application. Okay, so what they will use? They will use the dependencies. Okay, basically in Hibernate also, if you have observed, we were not having all of them used, right? So we were using only few. Okay, we were using only few. So all of them were not being utilized or used in the application. So here also the same thing. Here also the same thing. So you are not going to use everything. So you are going to use some of, right? So here you are going to have goals. So what are the goals here? So goals means what will be the goals that are to be given. Okay, so the main goal of the Spring Boot is to reduce development time by providing the unit test, integration test, and all those things. So what it does, we have so many annotations to do all the job for us. Okay, so we have we will avoid XML configurations. Okay, so most of the XML configurations we try to avoid. We try to avoid the XML configurations, or we try to go for so various other things like this. Okay, so this is the way that we are going to deal with it. Okay, so now what are the prerequisites? So prerequisites, we will use Spring tool suit STS IDE. Okay, so we will try to install that. Okay, so we will try to go for, okay, so we will use STS IDE. Okay, let us try to install that STS IDE now, because Eclipse we are facing some issues, right? So let us try to install this Spring Tool Suite STS IDE. Okay, right now, so that we will be ready from tomorrow. So let me go for Chrome. So it mostly looks like Eclipse only. Okay, so it mostly looks like Eclipse. So download and install. So download and install. Okay, so downloading and installing. So you can uh, follow some steps. Okay, so there are many ways so you can do it. Okay, so let us follow this. You can have all the notes and everything. So Java version, Java C version. So you can check the Java versions initially. So if you are okay with that, so you can go to the Spring IO Tools website. Okay, so let's follow step by step so that we can have a foolproof one. Okay. Okay, so it's like a jar file. It's an application. Okay, I think. Okay, one second. I'll just refresh this, or else we will choose. So I can give it to you also. So that's installation link. Installation link. I can give this also. You can check it out later. So here I will go. So we will check our Java version also. I think a lot of confusion is there for me also. So what kind of version we are running? Because I will do so many installations. So our version that we are using is 20 points. So that is the problem actually, I guess. Okay, so Java version. So 20.1 only. Okay, let me check 20 is there or not in my system. So program files, Java, you can see 20 on the right. Okay, so fine. So but every time I will be checking with okay, okay. I think now you got the Windows also. Okay, so Java version we checked. So we got this. So downloading and installing. Okay, so you go to the Spring Tools website. Okay, so Spring Tools website. So let me right click over here. So Spring Tools website. So here configuration website, you just go on this. So here you can see Windows, right? So here you can see Windows. So let's right click here. You have a jar file included. So that was the steps it was saying, right? So the steps, so you get a jar file. Okay. So you get a jar file. Double click on that, root S4. So you will have, I told you, right? It is similar to Eclipse. Okay. So let me get downloaded. It's an I file. Okay. So it is done. So you can go to that location. So try to add this. Go to advanced Java. So, I will say day 24. So Spring Boot. So Spring Boot. Okay. So here I'll get Spring Boot and I'll put over here the jar file. So you got a jar file basically. Okay. You got a jar file. So what is the next thing that you can do here? So after download, so what we were told? We were told to unzip it. Okay. So unzipping it. So here I will unzip. Okay. So I think it is unzipped now. So once it is unzipped, you can open. Okay. So better we paste this like him only in the program files. Okay. So Spring Boot time. So I think still going on. Okay. So otherwise, what we'll do? Okay. So here is the one. So we will take this contents. Okay. So like this fellow. So program files sts release. Okay. So what I will do is I will also go for the contents. So better. So now this sts release I will take to the C drive. Because all our executables will be on the C drive only, right? Okay. So we will take this. So we'll cut it over here. So like the same thing what we did. So program files sts. Okay, I'll create a folder sts. Okay, so there I would keep this. Okay, so here I'll go to the C drive. I want you people to do the same. So right click here under the program files. So I don't think you have any sts or anything. So let me create a folder and name it as sts and paste this. Okay, I think it is taking a lot of time now. Okay, so I think copy is done. So you can open up. Say the open once you open it up. So once you open it up, so you can okay. So you can open this. Okay, so you can open this. So once you open this, so here it is. You open this. So it will open something like this. Okay. So Spring Tool Suite 4 by VMware, of course. Okay. So once you open this, so like your Eclipse, it will also ask you for the workspace. So you can give the workspace and we will start creating the projects. Okay, so we'll start creating the project. So it will take some time. Okay, so that's where you have the things. Okay, so now here, so we will talk about some Spring Boot features. So another Spring Boot feature, so we will first take up the web development. Okay, so we'll take up the web development. So as you know, web development means developing the web pages, developing the web pages, so developing the web pages. Okay, self-contained web pages. Okay, HTML application that uses embedded servers. Okay, basically providing the client server atmosphere. So providing the client server atmosphere is the main aim under this. And when you go into when you go into this particular Spring application, so it's basically uh, uh, a class with some main method. Okay, so from this main method, your application will run. How will run and all, we will try to understand later. So you also have the application key listener. So what I'll do is all these things I hope you will understand by just once reading. Okay, so there is no need to go into the depth of those things. So you can just read and understand without any problem. So if you have any doubt, any questions when you just read these things, okay, so you can ask. So you have admin support, you have configuration, you have the properties file, okay, so you have the YAML support, okay, so you have type-safe configuration, so like your Hibernate applications, okay, so login security. So these kind of things will help you out in making your application better. Okay. So now what is the main thing here is the architecture of the Spring Boot. So if you look at this architecture, so if you look at this architecture of the Spring Boot, so what you find here, you find the presentation layer, you find the business layer, you find the persistence layer, and you find the actual database. Okay, what you're looking at here, you are looking at mainly four layers. So what are the four layers? Okay, one second. What about our application? Is it open still in the background? Yeah, so it is now, you can see it is getting, now it is taking this workspace, Spring Tool and all. Say launch. So once you say launch, so it will take up. Okay. And going to this presentation layer, okay, presentation layer. So you have the authentications. So it is a front end which is being shown to the user, right? So and in the background you can have the business layer to look up. Okay, so and then you have the persistent layer. So persistent layer in the sense, the data storage area. So the data storage area, the storage logic basically, and finally the data gets stored in the database. Okay, data gets stored in the database. So this is the, okay, now you can see we are creating a Java project, creating a Maven project, creating a new Spring startup project. So we will work with this. So we'll work with this. So it is something looking like Eclipse only, but not exactly the Eclipse because it's Eclipse based only. So Eclipse is different and this is different. So Eclipse will work in another workspace and this will work in this workspace. So better we can work in this because Eclipse for us is giving some issues. Okay, so that's where we are using the STS basically. Okay, right. So now we will go with the flow. So how the flow goes? Okay, so how the flow goes? So the flow goes in. So annotations and all we will be working or we will be learning at the time of developing the application because that is where you better understand, right? So now how the flow goes? How the flow goes? So we have the client. So client makes a request. The controller takes the request, and the request is going to the service layer. So service layer is going to connect the crude services like database services. Okay. So and it will take up the data from the database, and your model will be doing all these services. Okay. So as I told you, so you will understand once you look at this. So this is how the flow goes. Okay. And as I told you, client, service, server. So these are all the things that we have to go through. Okay. So this is all about the small introduction of this. So we don't have to go for all these things because this we will be knowing at the time of app creation. So which we will be doing in our next session. Okay. Thank you.